Un aplauso, por favor. Seguido, quiero invitar también a Jesse Pearl, el vicepresidente de marca y marketing de la MLS. También quiero invitar a Sarah Yu, la Chief Marketing Officer de los Houston Dynamo. Y bueno, para moderar este panel, un gran colega, amigo, espectacular, aquí como que me inflo un poco porque de verdad que lo admiro muchísimo, con ustedes, Tony Churchy de la MLS y Apple TV.
Gracias, Dani.
Te dejo.
Gracias.
En tu panel.
Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon to everyone. These are some of the most finest executives in MLS. That's what I heard like 5 minutes ago. No, for sure. Great people here to talk about the growth of the league and what is going to be the important issue during the next 26 months, right? That the United States is going to become the epicenter of soccer. That's the reality. With Copa América starting just 3 days from now, with the Club World Cup that's going to be happening here next summer, and of course the main event, the World Cup in 2026. So I want to start with you, Jesse, as a representative of the league itself. And I know you joined the league in 2008. It's long ago. And so you witnessed firsthand the growth of the league during the last decade, and especially the past few months with landmarks such as the partnership with Apple to create MLS Season Pass and to broadcast the league all around the world without any blocks geographically or any other, and also the arrival of Leo Messi. So I would start by asking you, what's the state of MLS right now? What's the state of MLS right now?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Tony. Un gusto verles a todos. Gracias. You know, I think you reflected on so many things that have happened just in the last 18 months. And as you said, I've had the privilege of being at MLS since 2008. And so, you know, I think that what's really exciting is I think you look at where we are today. You talked about some of those incredible markers and milestones, the growth of the league. When I joined in 2008, we had, I think, probably 16 teams. We've now got 29 with 30 on the way. We've got, I see Fernando Fiore here. I know that he'll agree with me, el mejor jugador en la historia. We've got Messi in our league. We've got a partnership with Apple that I think is unlike anything else in sports, and I think has really changed the sports media landscape. And, you know, I'm sitting here on my left and right are two of the greatest, I think, sports marketers in our business. And so I think there's so much growth around us. You know, we'll see in a few weeks, hopefully, maybe the best 14-year-old soccer player in the planet, Kevin Sullivan, make his debut. And we see new clubs joining the league. With thriving fan bases, new stadiums being built, and we see the interest. And so I think while it's incredibly strong, I think the most exciting part, what we all feel that get to see it up close and work in MLS, is that the best is still to come. There's so much growth ahead, and I think some of those things on the horizon, especially World Cup 2026. I think it'd be hard for us to overestimate, what that'll do to continue to accelerate that growth, that interest, and I think making sure that, soccer continues to be an even bigger part of mainstream popular culture, mainstream legacy news media, and what everybody's thinking about. But, I think even before we get to, all that stuff ahead, I think we look at, the interest among young people as a leading sport for Gen Z. And I think all that is, part of what positions us, great, not just, for the near future, but I think the long term as well.
Jesse brought us a video also from MLS, so we're gonna watch it now.
Dale pues, mamá ya, muévete más loco, como solo tú sabes.
so back. And before going with Sara and Pedro, I just want to add that MLS is the most geographically diverse league right now in the United States. So that's I say it because I see that was kind of reflected on a video. 79 countries represented in this league. But Sara, starting with you, you've been with Houston Dynamo for a little bit more than a year. What caught your attention when you got there? What can you tell about the soccer culture around Houston?
I'm new to soccer, so I've spent a lot of time in sports, but not a lot of time in soccer. And I think my first impression when I got to Houston and even coming into the role was how diverse of a demographic the city is, soon to be third largest in the U.S. And there are a ton of millions of passionate soccer fans in Houston. We see it. We are lucky enough, even in my time there, to host, Copa América coming into town next week. We've had Gold Cup coming through. A lot of the other tournaments, obviously, working on Leagues Cup with the league and Liga MX, and it to me is so exciting, for us, and I think it's a challenge across the league, is how to take that global soccer fandom that is, tangible in Houston and Orlando and LA and New York and all the cities in between, and get them interested in our product. It's different from what I'm learning from other leagues and series around the world. But I think once we get fans of soccer in front of our product, they're interested, they want to learn more, and they're willing to come back. So I think for me, that's the exciting part of what I've entered in Houston, and that for us is, the challenge and also the opportunity in front of us. And with all of this great energy coming in, we're ready to capitalize on it.
Of course. Pedro, you've been with Orlando for 5 years, a little bit more?
Yeah, going to 6.
Going to 6. And this is a relatively new team, in the MLS ecosystem compared to maybe Houston or some other franchises. But what can express more about what's happening around the team, also the Pride, the ladies team, that you can share here with us? What's Orlando City like from the inside?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Great to be here. I think Orlando is a soccer city, to be honest. I think from day one, when we started our MLS franchise, our MLS journey in 2015, you saw that with Kaká back in the day, and now with our women's team that came on board, Orlando Pride, in 2016. The year after, Marta, one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest, joined our team in 2017. So he had 3 to 4 years of major announcements and major kind of tempo moments that took place in our city that really built this kind of connection that to this day we see. We're averaging 20,000, 23,000 people in our stadium every game, despite the challenges we've had on the field, despite obviously the success of Inter Miami and what they're doing in a market that's right next door. So I think everything that's happened in Orlando has helped also other teams learn and do even better. We looked at, I think we've built 11 stadiums in the last 10 years, soccer specific, which is insane. I don't think any other country in the world would have been able to pull this off and just kind of take the soccer infrastructure level from here to here in a decade. And I think when you look at our building, we had the first safe standing supporter section in North America. Now you look at all the other buildings that came after, every single building has it, right? And they all improved on it, right? They all took something from our building and improved it, and then the next building took something from those two buildings and improved it. And you look at the newest buildings like St. Louis, and it's just an incredible experience, right? From food and beverage to supporters to the pitch to the entertainment, from lights to music. There's no other place in the world that can deliver that type of experience. And I think a lot of it started with the older clubs, but it kind of went through Orlando to take us to where we are today.
And you mentioned in the beginning, you've had some real international stars going to Orlando. You prepared us also a video, right? So you prepare us also a video,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, there's a quick video. Let's take a look at what Orlando City and Pride are all about.
Let's watch.
That is a screamer. He comes in the middle.
Learned it from Jesse.
Oh yeah, you did good. Now that I saw Kaká over there, you guys are preparing something special around him, right?
Yep. Yeah. So say that again.
With Kaká, I mean.
With Kaká,
I
yes,
saw
we got
Kaká
Kaká
on the
coming
video.
up. So we got he's going to be our first ever, essentially equivalent to our Hall of Fame, but we're calling the Legends Terrace. We announced a couple weeks ago that he would be the first inductee into our Legends Terrace, which would be super exciting, July 6th at Enco Stadium. So it should be, one of a kind of experience post-game ceremony. He's coming with his whole family. We have one of the largest Brazilian bands who are going to perform pre-match show. So we're really excited. It's going to be, those are kind of the types of tentpole events that we try to create throughout the season that deliver value beyond what's happening on the pitch to fans.
I want to go back to one of Sarah's points in the beginning, and then I would love to listen Jess's perspective from the league on this. So Copa America is going to bring to many cities in the U.S. the casual fan. I mean, the fan, the soccer fan that is not the MLS fan so far. So that, to me, seems one of the biggest challenges, but also one of the biggest opportunities to turn that fan into an MLS fan or a Houston Dynamo fan or an Orlando fan. So what are the strategies that club are now discussing to make it happen?
Sure. Just recently, a couple hours ago, confirmed our team will be able to be on site. So for us, working with the promoters that come in and the different governing bodies that help put on these events is crucial. So for us, making sure that we're in front of the fans coming in that live within Houston or even within a couple hours drive of Houston, and making sure that we're in front of them. And a lot of it is education on that we're here, where we play, who's on our team, and thinking about that. First party data acquisition is always a key for a lot of what we do today. So we think about that. We think about how our players can show up during those matches if they're available and free, and finding ways for some of our players who might not be called up into their teams for national play to have a presence. And then I think third, just thinking about the media that's coming into town and finding ways to engage with them, host them, educate them on the club when maybe they didn't know or haven't had a touch point with us for a while. So those are a couple of the things we're thinking about, at least within the next week or two, and then we'll think about how we go forward from there.
Jesse, I mean, not all clubs are going to have that opportunity. So from the league perspective, how can you guys add to that momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting because acá hay gente de todo el mundo, me imagino. There's people from all around the world here, so you probably know this if you spend time in the U.S., but I think there's more access to soccer in the United States than in just about any other country. And I think we don't really think about that. Here I think we assume that, if you're in the United Kingdom, if you're in Argentina, if you're in Colombia, you can easily access all the soccer that's played all around the world, and it just isn't true. Here in the U.S., there is more access through streaming to every soccer league that you could want to watch, whether that's an international competition happening this summer, like the Euro, Copa América, or the Premier League. I subscribe to all of it, so I watch Boca Juniors play in La Primera División, and I'm sure Pedro's watching his hometown team back in Brazil, and SJ, we're going to find her an international team to root for as part of her soccer immersion. And so there's so much access, and there's a couple ways we could think about that. I think as Major League Soccer, we can look at the situation we're in and talk about all the competition that we face, because it's true, we probably do have more competition than any other sports league in the world, because we not only have all of the traditional North American sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, the list goes on, but we have all the other international soccer, which isn't just a theoretical thing. There's actually access to it. But I think when it comes to something like Copa America, the way that we can and should and want and need to and do think about it is these are also entry points, because to your point, Tony, not everybody is a fan of an MLS club yet. or they may not be as familiar, with the access we can provide here to the sport that they love. And so, I think for us, it's we're fans of soccer too. We love that the Euro is happening. We love Copa América. We're excited to celebrate it coming here, and we think it's probably going to switch on a lot of people to think about MLS and consider us, whether it's because of the cities that they're going to be in, because of the players that are playing, because of the co-marketing opportunities we can partner with with all of the different organizing committees on. But the other reality is that those tournaments, Copa America, even the World Cup, they're going to come and go. And MLS is going to be here, before, during, and after. And I think that's where it gets really exciting, because if you're a fan of great soccer and you love it and you're excited to watch Argentina play Canada on is it Thursday night it starts? I'm pretty excited about it. That's great, but it's going to last a few weeks and then it's going to be over. And I spoke about access, but one of our biggest differentiators in terms of access is you can be a fan of Manchester United, Manchester City, Boca Juniors, whatever club around the world. But if you're here in the U.S. and Canada, you can't go see those teams play, and they're not part of your community. And so I think that's what's so special about what people like Pedro and Esche are doing is they're building these soccer communities and soccer cities and soccer cultures, brick by brick, fan by fan, and I think that's a huge differentiator for us.
Pero kind of the same question: how is it going to impact you guys in Orlando? What all those special big events, big tournaments are going to bring here to the U.S.?
Yeah, I think nobody really knows how much it's going to impact us. All we know is that, MLS is a legacy project of 1994 World Cup coming here, right? The league started with a major tournament coming in. And I think all we know is there is going to be a massive growth in just attention around the sport. For us in Orlando, we own and operate our venue. So our number one priority is, we want to host games, right? We want to host Copa America games. We're hosting 2. We want to host Club World Cup games. We're not going to get to host, unfortunately, World Cup games. But then what's the next thing? We want to be base camps for national teams, and we want to host friendlies leading up to the World Cup, right? I think it starts with that, so we can showcase the experience of our building. Again, to Jesse's point, people that live in our communities, they can see what we can offer and what they can experience in a soccer stadium in the United States, and in Orlando in particular. And if we can't do that, we want to just enhance the tournament through watch parties. We want people to enter our funnel in any way so we can work them down this engagement journey to become potentially fans of Orlando City, fans of Orlando Pride. But I think nobody really knows the magnitude. We've never had any country in the world with so many soccer tournaments stacked up like that, and how we already with the significant amount of excitement behind the league as it is now, just with the players that we have. So I think anyone that says that they know what's gonna happen or what might get out of this is probably just guessing, because it is really unprecedented.
You mentioned the success that Miami's having, and part of it is because they now have the best player in the world on their team. So from the league perspective, I would love to know, because we all get to see the impact of Messi being here. I mean, and also globally, and I witnessed this firsthand, and I know there's a lot of people here that can testify to that, and the Olé people is one of them. I mean, I've been to Argentina, and it's crazy the amount of Messi shirts, Messi Miami shirts that you see there on the street. So starting from that and understanding that Leo is not going to play forever, how do you build around it? How do you take advantage of that going into the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key there is to make sure that, as people are coming for Messi, if that's what's bringing them to, MLS for their first time, which is great, and that's certainly happening. Our idea is, come for Messi and stay for everything else. There's so much here that we think Messi can expose, fans to, and new fans to. Again, I think one of the great things is, you can go see your MLS. If you've gone to see Messi play, and let's say you were at Arrowhead, where they set a record for their Sporting Kansas City Inter Miami game, and filled an iconic NFL stadium with fans, or in Foxborough, New England Revolution, selling out every seat in the house when Inter Miami came to town. That's great. That's bringing in people that maybe weren't there the week before. But you're also bringing them, in a city and in a community where you've got an MLS club that you can support. When Messi's not in town the following week, and hopefully, he plays forever. But one day there'll be a time where he decides to hang up the boots. And so I think the job right now, it's about making sure these fans stick around, and that we're giving them all the reasons to do that. And I think Messi's been an incredible ambassador for MLS, and I think the moments of magic that he's creating on the field, I think those are the things that really start to transcend, and that's where I think sport becomes culture, and the types of people that are paying attention. It's remarkable. When he comes into town, or when he's in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, it's LeBron and Serena and Selena Gomez and Leo DiCaprio, and the list goes on, and that matters because it creates a different sort of conversation and culture. And I think it's also, it starts to change the perception of what MLS is. And I think a lot of those people are going to come for Messi, and they're going to find out that, that there's a lot here to love. And I could tell you anecdotally, I've been there for some of that. We were fortunate for our season opener. Inter Miami was playing LA Galaxy, and we got some first time, stars and celebs to come out. We had Halle Berry and Halle Bailey, who have this mutual admiration for each other and had never really met in person. Both come out to their first MLS game, and the conversation the whole game, and for Halle Berry, she had her kids out, and I think it was all about wanting to come back for more, and that wasn't about Messi. Messi was what got him in the door. So I think we've got so much great stuff, and I think Messi just becomes like Copa America. It's another entry point. It's another way to get people in for the first time. And from there, we believe that we've got a really sticky product. The stadium experience of being at an MLS game, in places like Orlando and Houston and so many other places, it's different from other traditional North American sports. Some of us as soccer fans, we maybe take it for granted, but there isn't an announcer telling you when to chant defense at an MLS game. Instead we've got crazy supporter section that we want to get just close enough to, but not too close to, that are singing their lungs out for 90 minutes, and it's intoxicating, in a different way than other North American sports experiences. And I think developing homegrown talent that we're going to see play in World Cups for national teams, U.S., Canada, and so many others. The international stars that we have, like a Leo Messi, and we're going to have Chucky Lozano in the league next year. So, I think star players, the supporter culture, the stadium environment, how it's starting to bleed into popular culture, the types of people that are fans for MLS. So I think all those things become really kind of sticky, and it's just about getting people in, which certainly Messi has been doing.
I'm sure. I mean, it's obvious that everyone involved with the league gets something positive for having Messi in the league. But I'm pretty interested in hearing the perspective of the clubs that don't get to have Messi, right? But
hopefully we will next year. I'm told, maybe.
Breaking news here in
maybe
Sports Summit. Well, you guys were at least happy that he couldn't show up for that final on the cup, right? That wasn't bad.
We were ready for him in Miami, but apparently
we're waiting for him,
yeah,
right?
It's okay. For us in Houston, obviously all the things Jesse said, if nothing else, it gets people in the door the first time. And I think especially for American sports fans, having been more of a traditionalist till my new role, being in a stadium with all the smells, the sights, the sounds of a really big soccer or football match is a new taste for fans here. So I think that's helpful for us. I mean, for us, it starts a conversation. Hey, when does Messi play in Houston? When will he play in Houston? He will be there this year in August for Leagues Cup, playing at the NFL stadium. So again, we'll think about how we capitalize on that with him coming into town. But if nothing else, it opens a conversation. I've jokingly said that I might start handing out citations in our stadium when people show up in Messi jerseys for a Dynamo match. It will come with a percentage off at the merchandise store for some Dynamo gear. But again, it creates excitement, and for us, it starts a conversation, whether that's with a new potential partner who might be interested, and that's the way they get involved with the team, a potential season ticket holder, and or just a conversation on the streets of Houston where someone might say, hey, is he playing the same league that the team you work for does? So, for us, it opens a door, and it's, up to us then how we can hopefully capitalize on it.
Yeah, and I think every team benefits from Messi regardless, right? For number one, viewership is something that at the league level has gone up significantly, and that benefits in the league. We commercialize our teams as a league, as a package, right? The more interesting I think all games are, the better, right? We don't want to have just 3 or 4 or 5 games like some European leagues where, those are the interesting games and then everything else is not as interesting, right? So I think that benefits everybody. But at a club level, I think we took at Orlando a different approach than most teams. While most teams wanted to go to bigger stadiums and sell out kind of one-off and get as many people in the building as possible, for us, we wanted our fans to commit to us to get to the game, right? If you want to go to Inter Miami, Orlando City, you got to be a season ticket holder of our club. You got to be a multi-match plan holder of our club. And that's how we really went through the selection process, right? We do have a venue, 25,000 seat venue. So if you want to be in that building, you got to be in that building supporting our team for multiple games. And you got to commit to the team long term. To Jesse's point, Messi's not going to be here forever. So we want people to commit to their local teams, to commit to the experience and coming out to the stadium, and that's the approach that we took that's been successful. So.
And I'm thinking with Messi, you get also global awareness, and now that you have that global exposure in terms of you have the same broadcast for every part of the world. So in the case of you two, you are from cities where the demographics are very diverse. So besides the people that you have in the city, I mean, do you feel that there's something different now that there's Messi, but there's also a bunch of things going out of the U.S.? Do you feel that's impacted in the clubs or in the league's plans?
Yeah, there's no doubt that I think, not just through Messi and not just through some of the other great international players that we have, but certainly, with Apple, having a product, having a sports media product and platform that is truly global and can be seen in any corner of the world, through the same subscription, is really, really, powerful. And I think, again, unlike anything else in sports. And, I think we're obviously just getting started. We're in year 2 of our relationship with Apple. So I think there's so much more ahead, as we look at all the kind of global opportunities. But it's again, one of the great, advantages that we have is, our sport is the world's game. And I think the other great thing for us as Major League Soccer is, we are getting, people like, again, Pedro, SJ, and around the league, we're creating the North American version of that, in front of our eyes. And I think the rest of the world is actually really curious about North America. I think part of why Messi's playing in Miami and MLS has a lot to do with that. I think America and our cities, I think loom large in the global imagination. And I think, the world still does look to North America for a lot of, culture, and especially in popular culture and entertainment and lifestyle. And, we see that in fashion and music and in film. And so, for us to be the tip of the spear, for that in sport, to be the the North American version of soccer, I think in itself is something that people are going to only be, increasingly curious and interested in. And again, I think Messi is a great, way in to show them what's happening here. So I think it's a really powerful thing. And we see other reminders of that. We've got a goalkeeper in our league for FC Dallas, Martin Pace, who, grew up in the Netherlands and just announced that he's taken his citizenship oath for Indonesia. He's going to play for the Indonesian national team. We are seeing incredible stuff on social media, engagement, and growth and interest from fans in Indonesia. So, I think it's another reminder of many of, the opportunity we have, being the North American version of the global game.
Well, it's just going to add to that. I think the interesting thing, Gabe actually told me this stat earlier, is, it's not just one player, it's the multitude of players that represent the different countries playing in our league. I think 39 players coming into the Copa tournament play in the MLS, and one of our next pro players. So I think what I love about the league, especially even our team in Houston, is we talk about it being a mirror of our local market, right? So you have representatives from many countries being able to, represent day in and day out their native country in the city they live in right now, and being able to use that as an unlock. And then when they get showcased, Coco Cascarilla, still working on my Spanish, was Gold Cup Player of the Year last year, right? So a lot of pride for us to have that tournament's best player playing every day down in Houston, hoping for a little bit longer till maybe he gets a chance to go over to Europe. But I think for me, that's what these big tournaments coming in through America as well allows us to do, is showcase the talent playing in the MLS.
Yeah, the way I see it too, Messi is no different than the World Cup or one of these tournaments, right? To me, it's an opportunity and a stress test for our league. Are we ready? Are we prepared with the right distribution model? Are we prepared with our stadium experience when people come into our building to really hook them and keep them around, right? To me, that it gives us an attention window to then see if our product is right to keep people in our funnel, right? Whether it's Messi, in the case of Messi, the distribution model with Apple is a great opportunity. Our new product is in Leagues Cup. Is that the right product? We had the right opportunity to bring him on during that tournament, being his first tournament, and be a stress test for that. Now with these other tournaments, I think it really, for the venues that will get to host it, it's an opportunity for them to showcase what the venues in North America are all about to casual fans, and then hopefully those fans, become fans of their local teams. And I think there's opportunity to follow multiple teams like we do in different sports. So hopefully they can have their North American team and their European or South American or wherever they're from.
I would like to hear a final thought from you guys about the World Cup, because you mentioned, Pedro, that this league was based upon that 1994 World Cup, that it all began there, right? And it went through a tough stage at some point, but then started to grow to what we know now, that we're going to have 30 teams next year. So knowing that history, how important is that 2026 date and that month of a little bit more than a month now with 48 teams playing in the World Cup? How can that impact the next phase, the next 10 or 20 years of this league?
Yeah, I think we know that this is a generational moment. I remember the 1994 World Cup, and like you said, it's part of the origin story of how we're here today and how we got here, and how MLS got created. So I think there's no doubt it's going to be transformational and only for the positive. I think we're just going to all be, living and breathing soccer in a way that I think, North America, U.S., Canada, haven't. I think it's going to inspire a generation of young fans and athletes, to really think soccer first. Obviously we can't predict what's going to happen on the field, but, SJ referenced it. We have the most diverse player pool of any league. We have more players, more countries represented than anybody else. And, this past World Cup, MLS sent more players to the 2022 World Cup than any World Cup in our history. And there's no reason to think 2026 won't set another record and benchmark, and, that we won't have even more players represented to connect to, after the World Cup. And again, I think, when the World Cup fever breaks, and when it's over, we've got the best after party in sports, ready and waiting for everybody. And that's MLS.
Well, I'll go next. I think, there's several layers to it. One, I think it's going to impact how we recruit players. Now with the academy systems, right? Not only kids will pay attention to soccer more, and it will be easier to recruit kids at a younger age versus other sports, right? But also how we think about our roster makeup, right? If we have certain markets that are important for different teams in our league, how are we making sure that we have representation of those markets on our teams, and then playing in the World Cup will be, I think, a bigger part of our roster makeups and our GMs. And we are starting to have these conversations with our GMs. I think as it relates to the commercial side of the business, getting in early with soccer will be cheaper and more authentic, right? So when you talk to partners now, like, hey, getting in, 2 years before the World Cup hits, like, this is the time for you to not only fine tune your plans, but also build authenticity with your audience, connection with that community. And then once the World Cup comes around, you can really capitalize on it, and hopefully continue that relationship with your local club, because they're also going to reap the benefits of that fan base, that stickiness of our product, hopefully, and come out of that a stronger club and with a much larger, broader fan base. So I think the opportunity is now for brands that really want to be connected with the game that maybe haven't been connected before, to jump in early on and be able to capitalize once those tournaments come around.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I think it's going to be super fantastic for just people in the U.S. who maybe haven't had a chance to really experience the beautiful game, to see it at its highest level of play. It'll be tangible in many, many markets right in front of them. And I think as a newer, dedicated fan to soccer, I'm excited to see, a lot of the U.S. being able to consume it right in front of them and find the joy of the game like I have. So I think for me, that's what I'm most excited about. And then we'll figure out as a club and a league, to Jesse's point, we're the after party waiting to give them that taste day in and day out following next year.
I know for
years.
a fact that a lot of people fell in love with soccer in the U.S. in that 1994. So this is going to be a whole new generation falling in love with soccer, and there's a lot of growth to do. And so thank you very much, SJ, Jesse, Pedro. Thank you all for being here, for listening, and